Advice that I would have is to listen. So often we have our own thoughts and opinions of what is right or what way something should happen. Yet if we just listen to our children, we can really learn from them and understand their point of view. Welcome to Sports Mom Rapport, where we support and connect with moms of athletes while sharing helpful advice along the way. This is Tara.
And I'm Destiny. Thank you for joining us as we highlight you incredible moms. Today, it is my pleasure to introduce to you my co-host, my podcast mate, my hey girl hey, my friend, Tara Clapper. Tara is a devoted wife and mother of two beautiful daughters, inside and out. Tara gives wholeheartedly and is welcoming to anyone she meets. She is committed to creativity and embraces adventure and fun challenges. She is an avid traveler and phenomenal human being. It is my honor to share the Sports Mom Rapport airways with you. Please welcome Tara Clapper.
Oh, thank you, Destiny. That was so uplifting.
We're so excited to have you today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Going to try to be vulnerable for you all.
It's important. Vulnerable and open, right?
Yes. I've had my exercise. I've had my shower. I've had a good meal.
Ready.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Well, let's start off with you telling me about your upbringing and how that may have influenced your interests and passions as an adolescent.
I grew up in Columbus, Ohio. Both my parents worked. My dad was a doctor and OB-GYN, so he would often be on call in the evenings. And my mom began working in sales for a toy company when I was 5. She quickly moved up the ranks and became a sales director. So she worked out of the home, but she had flexibility, yet she was very focused on her career. She would always test her new games with me when they would arrive. So that might be a reason that I still love playing games to this day.
Oh.
They were both very high achievers, obviously. In fact, my dad went back to law school in the evenings when I was in high school. So he would practice medicine during the day, law school at night. He just loves to learn. I went to an all-girls school and was the youngest of 3 girls. With working parents and being the last one of the bunch, there wasn't really a lot of time for me to have extracurricular activities. I did go to summer camp, which I loved. And my parents would send us away to camp in the summer and go travel Europe together while we were there. When I was in 8th grade, I really wanted to start singing lessons. So my mom found out about someone through a friend, and I trained with her into the beginning of college. She became like a really special coach and influence on my life as well. I enjoyed singing and being in musicals and plays throughout high school. And that's mostly how I spent my time. So I wasn't on any sports teams, although I've always enjoyed exercising. I love to exercise, aerobics, working out in the gym with machines, weights, Stairmaster. Yeah, when I was younger, I don't know if that's a thing anymore. And lots of exercise videos. I remember once my older sister, who's 2 years older than me, began to drive. She would drive us to the gym that we belonged to before school a few days a week. And another sport that I really enjoyed, snow skiing, was always a passion of mine. And that's actually how I met my husband when I joined the Ohio State Ski Club. We used to ski together, have gone out west most years ever since, used to race together. Once we got married, just in a fun club racing, slalom and giant slalom. So that was fun. But otherwise, athletically, I wish I knew what it was to be a student athlete, because they have it made. What an incredible experience. And I'm so glad that my daughters are experiencing this. I'd love to go back and be young so I could pick something to excel in. But athletically, just love to exercise.
Wow, I love that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
It's interesting for me to hear that you grew up with high achieving parents, because if I were to describe you in a few words, that would be one that I would also include. So the apple did not fall far from the tree.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So I know that you are a graduate of The Ohio State University, where you met your kind-hearted husband, Mark. How did you come to attend Ohio State? And were there any challenges that brought you to that decision?
Okay, so I love to sing and I really enjoyed being in shows, as I mentioned. And I had dreams of being on Broadway when I was younger. And I'm not going to lie, I still think it would be pretty cool. I had plans of being a voice major in college, and I was accepted as a soprano at two of my top schools, Carnegie Mellon and Northwestern. And in fact, I had already made my commitment and paid the deposit to Carnegie Mellon when at the end of my senior year of high school, my voice coach convinced me to stay and continue to study with her and go to Ohio State to get a degree. So I made that last minute decision and I changed my path. I believe that the fact that my vocal coach had experienced a teacher when she was in college that had taught her a damaging method of singing, it led her to almost getting nodules on her vocal cords, which is a singer's nightmare. And I do think that she projected her fear on me, looking back. But when I went to Ohio State, I did do some community theater shows during my first few years of college. However, I ended up meeting Mark, my now husband, early on. And as we were having a long distance relationship and driving back and forth to see each other, he was in Michigan. I didn't do as many shows. And eventually I stopped training with my voice coach because our relationship kind of dwindled a bit with my going back and forth from school to train at her house, which was 40 minutes away, and traveling back and forth to Michigan, and just life in general and college life. So my priorities had shifted a bit. And when I got married, I did do a few shows, but I haven't since.
Thank you. So given the fact that you experienced quite a bit of change, how would you say those experiences of change influence your attitude towards change today?
So I believe that most everything happens for a reason. I would not have met my husband and have my two incredible daughters that I'm blessed with today if my course hadn't veered a bit. And I'm grateful for everything that has led me down this path and has gotten me to where I am today. Looking back, I don't hold any animosity towards my coach for talking me out of majoring in voice in college. I know she had my best interest at heart, and she was only guiding me the way she thought was best. As for change, I do try to embrace it the best I can, because that is the one thing in life that is for sure. Things change, and we just need to do the best that we can at any given time in the situation that we're in. And I think that the mindset and attitude that you face changes and challenges with affects the outcome and your own happiness.
I agree with you on that. Tell me a little bit about your professional background and how you came to be a stay-at-home mom.
Sure. Well, I went to school. I got a degree in aviation management, and I was just really targeting towards a Bachelor of Science. I wanted to get a degree, but I thought I was going to be singing and performing when I first started out college, and that was more of a backup. I was married very young, just after I graduated college, and I had met Mark 3 or 4 months after beginning college, and we dated long distance throughout. He's 6 years older than me, and he was finishing up his master's and had a job lined up with Ford in Michigan as a mechanical engineer. And after graduating and my wedding, I worked for 4 years, a few years at a commercial real estate company, and then at a venture capital firm before having Leah. And then I became a stay-at-home mom because I always wanted to be a mom. And I think I listened to a little bit, maybe a lot of Dr. Laura when I was in college. And I had it in my mind that I definitely wanted to stay home and be a stay-at-home mom. And I'm so glad that my husband has been so supportive of that as well, because we just made it work. And I've been a stay-at-home mom ever since. Staying at home works for me because I like to focus on one thing at a time, and I didn't want any regrets in sharing my time. But everyone is different. Others may be their best selves when they work outside of the home because they need that to be happy and to be a good parent.
You know, speaking of being a stay-at-home mom and really wanting to be able to pour into your lovely 2 daughters, tell us a little bit about your girls. Then we'll segue into their athletic careers.
Sure. Leah and Lily are the light of my life. They bring me so much joy. They're truly incredible. and they're just fun and creative, hardworking, inspirational. They're great at keeping me humble and current and always teaching me so much. We just have such great conversations. They both have just always loved gymnastics. Lily, not until she was about 6. She learned a ton from her sister, and once she got in there, she didn't want to leave. But I exposed them to all sorts of other athletic activities, tennis and swimming, dance, ice skating. Lily was actually an amazing ice skater until she was stopped when she was 6, which is a super young age. But she just loved gymnastics, and they both still love to dance. Gym is their happy place. It gives them an outlet for their energy and creativity and a place to grow confidence, build character and life lessons.
Mm-hmm.
So Leah is taking her 5th year of eligibility on the Florida Gators gymnastics team. She graduated with her undergraduate degree after 3 years, received her master's degree after 4, and now she's working towards her second master's during her final year as a student athlete. And Lily recently began her freshman year on the gymnastics team at the University of Michigan.
Woo, impressive. How would you describe their journey to become Division I college gymnasts?
I don't think it was really ever a question in their own minds that they wanted to do gymnastics in college. And they both set super high goals for themselves. I'm just so proud of them. They've made their dreams a reality. They're both at their dream schools, getting to compete for amazing teams in the NCAA. So just super proud of them and so much fun to always cheer them on.
Absolutely. Tell us about Leah and Lily's recruiting processes.
It began early for Leah. She had visited several schools for unofficial visits, and she verbally committed to Penn State just after her freshman year of high school. But a few years later, while in her junior year, the coaches at Penn State changed, and there were some changes in their program. Some other coaches were reaching out to her, one of which was Florida, which was originally her top choice. But back then, they had originally told her that all their spots were filled when she was like 13 or 14 years old. But apparently their commits had changed around and they were offering a full ride spot for her on the team. So after visiting there, she knew she needed to take that opportunity. And as difficult and uncomfortable as it was for her to switch her commitment, she's just had such an incredible time at Florida. As for Lily, her recruiting began a bit later because of the NCAA rule change that had just passed. And that was requiring the communication with coaches to not begin until June 15th after her sophomore year. I believe that she appreciated that later start, as did I, giving her a chance to mature more before having to start talking on the phone with the coaches and all. And her recruiting was interesting in that it took place in 2020 during all the COVID shutdowns. There were limited practices for her, and when they actually were allowed to go back and train in the gym, the universities were not allowing in-person visits. So just a very different experience than her sister. Due to COVID, she did lots of research online and she took virtual tours. And then she had a lot of virtual visits with the coaches and many, many phone calls, which was all really great for her to have that experience of talking on the phone with them. And she definitely grew more confident and comfortable with it as she practiced. The recruiting was quite a stressful time for her. She was in a time constraint, torn to decide on an offer at her number 2 school. And she was really stressed because her heart was pulling her to Michigan. But she was uncomfortable turning down a full ride offer to her second choice school. Thankfully, the coaches at Michigan came through with an offer for her just in time. She is so happy and excited to be on the Michigan gymnastics team.
Well, we can't wait to see what this year brings for both of your girls, both at Florida and at the University of Michigan. And I know that my daughter Ava is so excited to join her next year at Michigan. So
Lily is so excited to have her join the team as well. Congratulations to her on her signing and all.
Yes, thank you. So your girls have obviously had success and are loving their experiences today. What influence do you feel you and Mark had, if any, along the way? And were there any sacrifices as a family that you felt you had to make?
influence that I hope that Mark and I had is always giving 100% in everything that we do, being there to support any and all of their endeavors. And everything we do, we try to do with integrity and just exposing them to lots of different activities and cultures. A main sacrifice would, of course, just be not being able to be at both girls' competitions and dividing up the time. I wish I could be in two places at once, but don't we all? My husband and I definitely divide and conquer. So there's always one of us with each. Another sacrifice I would say is, of course, we don't get to ski much now because ski season and meet season coincide. It's definitely worth the sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
Another sacrifice would obviously be the financial sacrifice. We make it work, though. We just have to be very intentional and careful with our budget and spending.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just so thankful and happy getting to see my daughters follow their passions.
So speaking of your daughters, did they experience any hardships along the way in their gymnastics careers?
Thinking back, hardships, I would say for Leah in middle school, maybe about 7th grade, her coaches were having her come in for some extra practice time during the middle of the school day. And that just ended up being too draining. She was missing school, going back and forth. There was just too much disruption. And she didn't want to continue that the next year. And understandably so. When she got to high school, though, after her freshman year, she decided she really wanted to try to be an elite. And it was much easier to make it work at the high school. Wanting to be an elite, though, was on her own terms. And that was something at that point in her life that she wanted to do for herself. So I think that's great to let your children lead their journey. It definitely wasn't something that I was ever trying to push her towards. She just decided at that point, I'm ready to go to the gym more. I want to be an elite.
Mm-hmm.
A hardship for Lily, I would say, was when Leah went to college.
Mm.
She had always been with her, always in the gym. She was always Leah's sister. And coming to terms with her independence and abilities and just growing confidence in herself. So now that she was on her own, she had the opportunity to really discover herself and blossom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was difficult for her at first, but she definitely has paved her own path, and I'm so proud of her.
Yeah. I mean, every time I've seen your girls and interacted specifically with the two of them together, you can feel the love that they share. And they truly are best friends. I think just seeing that and witnessing it is really beautiful. So when I hear you say that, I feel it and I've witnessed it. So I want to go back really quickly. Can you explain for our listeners the difference, or maybe just what exactly an elite gymnast means and what that typically looks like for a young athlete in gymnastics specifically?
Sure. An elite gymnast, there are different rules and requirements and judging for an elite versus the regular, it's not JO anymore. I believe it's called the developmental program journey. You can be a level 10 and do all the same skills that these elites are doing. But being in the elite program, you have to qualify as an elite and you have to have so much difficulty, and they judge the difficulty and the execution separately, and then they put them together. So it's a lot more rigorous training because you're always trying to up the skills and make sure to have those higher level skills. A very competitive atmosphere. I would say that most elites who train are homeschooled. Leah did not homeschool, so that was a unique position for her just because the amount of time requirements. They train many, many hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked for her because it kept things fun. We just wanted to make sure that it wasn't such a tense atmosphere for her.
Would you say that the majority of elite gymnasts, that their goal is more of an Olympic path versus college, or is that not the goal?
So that had definitely been the goal, at least in the past. In order to be in the Olympics, you have to qualify as an elite. You need to qualify to the national team and be able to do international competitions. Now that NIL, the name, image, likeness rules have passed, you are having these elite gymnasts that are able to compete in college as well, because it was a deterrent before. If you went pro and you made money, you could not be on a college team. However, now that they have NIL, anybody can go to college. And it's really quite a competitive atmosphere in collegiate gymnastics. You're seeing all the people that have been on national teams and competed internationally and at the Olympics in the NCAA now. So it's a totally different ball game. And it's actually really cool to see everyone having the opportunity while in college and compete at an elite level at the same time.
Yes, I've loved to see that change. Just being able to see the gymnasts that have experience in Olympics, but then also they can go and participate for their college, their university, and earn their degree. I think it's just been a wonderful change. Thank you for explaining that with the elite gymnastics versus non-elite. So tell me about this. Now that your daughters are both off to college, how does it feel to be an empty nester?
Empty nesting. Okay. Of course, I miss the girls terribly, but being an empty nester is giving me some more time and flexibility. Can have some unplanned travel, impromptu activities. I can explore things I like doing a little more, creating, researching, planning travel and events, coming up with new ideas like this podcast. For example, last year I wrote a children's book, and I taught myself how to do digital art so I could self-publish it. Gigi's Gymnastics Journey, available on Amazon if you're interested.
I love the plug.
And I bet once the girls both graduate from college and we won't be traveling to their meets, that I'll audition for a show or two, and maybe you'll hear me singing a bit more.
Yes, sister. I love that. Let's do it. I'll be in the audience watching you.
Awesome.
Opening night.
I love that.
So you answered my next question. Essentially, my next question had to do with what are your next goals and what are the hobbies that you see Tara pouring into in these coming years?
Yeah, every day is a new adventure, and I just will continue to do the things that I enjoy. And who knows, maybe I'll be traveling Europe or going somewhere with this podcast, creating a blog. I'm not sure.
So given that life can be both wonderful, exciting, and also difficult at times, how do you find time for self-care? You mentioned that you enjoy exercising, even the Stairmaster, which we don't know if it still exists.
Years ago. That was a long time ago.
I think it does still exist. It might have a new name now. But given the fact that you just enjoy exercise, how do you find time for self-care? And is there anything else that you enjoy doing?
Sure. So I do. I really try to lead a healthy lifestyle. As I mentioned, self-care involves exercising, a nice hot shower, and a daily walk. I also enjoy reading and listening to inspirational quotes and stories and self-improvement, including podcasts. The podcasts I like to listen to are Jay Shetty. Surprisingly, The Art of Manliness, because I know that's targeted towards men, but they have some really great episodes on there. And I feel like some great life lessons and interesting talk. T-Boys is another one that I listen to just to get the news, and they do it in a fun, bantering way. And my daughter Leah had introduced me to that one. It used to be called Snacks Daily, but it's now T-Boys. And TED Talks. TED Talks are always interesting to me. I really just like to learn. Talking about self-care, looking back, my mom passed away 11 years ago. She was diagnosed with leukemia when Leah was 5. And on top of the leukemia, they discovered that she had myelofibrosis, which is a type of bone marrow cancer. It doesn't allow your body to produce cells normally. And she got to the point where she was having weekly or bi-weekly transfusions, and she needed to have a complete bone marrow transplant. Needless to say, she was super healthy otherwise, and she practiced many holistic ways to keep healthy and try to cure her cancer once she was diagnosed. And I say this because she had suggested that I read a book called The China Study when my kids were really little. And I bought it, and it sat on my shelf for many years. And I never got around to reading it until many years after she had passed. And when I read it, the China study inspired me. And at the same time, my daughter Leah had read the Blue Zones book for a class that she was in, and she shared it with me. And both the books aligned, and they convinced me to be a vegetarian, which is another, I would say, self-care thing that I do because I enjoy being a vegetarian and it just makes me feel good. And I just feel like everybody should eat what makes them feel good, whatever that is. So my mom has inspired me in many ways. And in speaking about her, and another example of her inspiring me too is letting my hair go gray. I let my hair go gray when I was pretty young. Lily was 5. I remember I was picking her up from the bus stop from kindergarten at that time. That was one of the things my mom was doing. She stopped dyeing her hair because she didn't want to put chemicals in her body. She was just trying to do everything that she possibly could to be healthy. And that made me think, why am I putting those in my hair? Seeping into my scalp. I'm just going to let my hair go gray. And I've been gray ever since. And it's so much easier.
I love hearing that, just how inspirational your mother is still to this day in your life.
Absolutely.
And just your ability to reflect on those memories and those times and how, if she were in your ear this day, what she would potentially be saying to you. And I know that you probably can feel that kudos or high five from her every day. So
I do.
Thank you for sharing that.
Sure. I mean, it's been 11 years and there's not a single day that goes by that I don't think of her or talk to her in my mind. And we just would have such great conversations now. And I totally understand a little more of what she had gone through now that I'm a mom, and we'd have a lot to share.
I love that. Well, thank you. You've mentioned traveling quite a bit. Do you have any favorite destinations you'd like to share with our listeners?
I think every place has its own charm, and I just love to travel all over. When we go, I just like to enjoy the beauty of their nature, the towns, the cuisine, talking with the people, and just getting to know them. I love to learn and I love to travel. There's just a long list of places that I want to go to. I definitely love Europe, though. And we've been to France and parts of Italy and Spain, and Greece. Would like to visit Australia. My daughter studied abroad there, and that's a place that I would like to explore. Asia, South America.
What's the saying? The world is your oyster.
The world is my oyster.
Which I never really understood that, but
you're the pearl inside the oyster.
Yes.
You're the beauty.
Do it all. Go explore, go all the places you've ever envisioned.
Yeah.
I love it. So here's a fun question. Do you have any pet peeves and or guilty pleasures?
I would say I do have a few pet peeves. One main one would be leaving the lights on when you're not in the room. Or letting the water run at the sink when you're not using it. While you're brushing your teeth, the water's still running.
Well, as good of friends as we are, I don't think we could be roommates because I think I do both. You'd be going behind me, turning lights off, turning the water off.
I do that now. With my husband. I feel like the lights are just left on all over the place. So guilty pleasure, dark chocolate and mint mixed together. Trader Joe's has these dark chocolate mint creams that are delightful. But really any chocolate and mint, Andes.
Mint chocolate ice cream? No.
I'm not real into ice cream. I was when I was younger, but I'm not a big ice cream fan at the moment. I'm sure if I started eating again, yes, chocolate and mint would be the ideal flavor for me.
So tell us about your vision for Sports Mom Rapport and how did the idea come about?
I think that it was one of my shower thoughts, literally while I was in the shower. I was thinking about starting a blog or a podcast, and I thought about how the athletes are always in the spotlight. But there is a story behind each athlete and a parent or caregiver that has a story of their own to share. And I thought it would be really nice connecting with other moms and how cool would it be to have a platform to highlight some moms and share our experiences and advice with each other so we can all grow and feel supported and connected?
Mm-hmm.
My hope is that it will be a comforting place and a resource for other moms or parents of athletes to communicate and support each other, share and connect with one another.
I'm here for it. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you're here with me on the ride.
So what advice do you have for our listening sports moms as they juggle and manage their athlete children?
Advice that I would have is to listen. So often we have our own thoughts and opinions of what is right or what way something should happen. Yet if we just listen to our children, we can really learn from them and understand their point of view.
Mm-hmm.
They just have so much to teach us. Just keeping
Absolutely.
an open mind can go a long way, and being there with a lending ear will be really time well spent and appreciated. Another piece of advice I would say is to be the cheerleader and supporter and let the coach do the coaching. I always remember at our annual gym club meeting, our club coach owner, shout out to Claudia, would remind us parents of our role to be the supporters and allow the coaches to do the coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And it just always stuck with me that we don't want to talk about work when coming home. We just want to relax, and that it's the same for our children. When they come home after a day full of school and 4 hours or so of gymnastics, they just want to sit and relax and not be drilled with questions about their days and details of their practice. So again, if you just listen and you're available to them when they want to talk, then they'll tell you what they want to share.
That's valuable advice for sure. I think we can all learn from that and put that into motion. So thank you.
Sure.
So how can our listeners follow and connect with you?
Yes, you can connect with me on my Instagram. I'm tara.clapper. I'm on Facebook as well. And now you can reach out to both you and I on our new website, sportsmomrapport.com.
Woohoo!
Yeah. It's sports with an S, mom, RAPPORT.com.
Well, Tara, I am honored to be your co-host. Thank you for your time today in the interview. And I love that our listeners just can feel like they know you a little bit better and look forward to spending more time in our upcoming episodes. Thank you again so much.
We're so glad you've joined us today. Thank you for listening. Upcoming episodes and show info can all be found at sportsmomrapport.com. If you've enjoyed the show, please share it with a friend. We'd love to hear from you, so please reach out to us with any comments or if you or someone you know would like to share their story and connect with us.